the one, the only Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Stout. Hey, it's Brainmuffin back with another beer review, and up today, another one from Alltech. They made their mark with their Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale, and they finally made a stout. I don't know if I don't believe they actually sell the stout without the barrel aged, but which is fine. This is really good. They have, I think they call it a full barrel or something where if you mix this with the Kentucky Ale, it's actually a pretty good mixture. And they've got a name for it. But anyway, let's get to it. So this starts off being a pretty good stout that then is barrel aged in bourbon barrels. And it's my understanding they have their own bourbon and then they reuse the barrels for the beer. So I don't know exactly how many times I might use it for the bourbon, but we should get some nice oak notes as well as the bourbon. Oh, right on the nose. Yep. The only thing I don't like about some of their stuff is they seem to have bright tank infused carbonation, but maybe it's a little cold too, I don't know. Right on the nose is this it's kind of this really roasted, it's almost like roasted oak in grain nose, but it's like a nose that like no other stout for that matter. Almost hints of coffee without actually having any coffee beans or anything in it. Oh, no wonder. It's brewed with coffee and aged, and maybe if I read the label, I would know. I stand corrected. No, that's why it has coffee notes, because it has coffee. So, it's brewed with coffee as opposed to coffee beans and aged in oak barrels with Haitian coffee. So imagine there, I don't know. So they may brew coffee and put it in there, or they might steep the coffee beans. I've done a coffee aged ale once, and I did it in the secondary. You get the alcohol up high enough, you can just put them in there in secondary and let it sit there for a while. So if you don't like coffee, then this is not the beer for you. It definitely has coffee notes. I don't expect it to have any caffeine, if any. It'd be a pretty small amount because of probably cold extract on the coffee. You're not going to get the caffeine much. But definitely has hints of vanilla as well on the nose from the bourbon. From the oak too. So mid-mouth is bourbon and coffee kind of doing a dance, and then it finishes with just a hint of bourbon. It's very smooth on the finish. It's just the slightest bit of bitterness, but it's not some of those, sometimes the bourbon barrels, especially if they use cheap bourbon, real sharp bitterness on the back end, but this is really smooth. I expect it to be from the coffee kind of, and they probably aged it quite a while, and with better aging that'll also tone down. Overall, it says 8% alcohol. This is not exactly a session beer. I'm going to check into Untapped at 4.5. To me, this is a very good bourbon barrel stout. It's not the best. It's not something like Bourbon County from Goose Island, which is pretty good, or some of the Founders beers, but it is very good. To me, their blackberry stout, which I reviewed, is a 5, and then definitely their pumpkin beer is definitely a 5. This is really, really close, but not quite there. And I'm going to compare it against some of their other beers. This is just a little shallow. Mouthfeel is decent, not great, and I'm getting really gassy from it, which means I got it too cold. But overall, this is a very good beer. This is a very good beer to do with as a float. Me personally, I would like to bump the vanilla flavor up, so I would definitely put vanilla bean ice cream in here, do a nice float. That way, you could do chocolate or chocolate and vanilla. The problem with chocolate to me is you've already got some coffee flavors, you got the bourbon. You could do some of darker flavors with chocolate, but my personal favorite would be to throw in some vanilla bean ice cream. And I say vanilla bean because you really want that high amount of vanilla flavor, not just kind of just sitting there. And most vanilla beans that I've had, they tend to be creamier, tend to have little specks of vanilla in them, and they have a more of a stronger vanilla presence, and that's what you want with that. You want that creaminess and that stronger vanilla presence to then mix with the bourbon and the coffee to give you a very interesting aroma and flavor. If you melted the ice cream, I guess you'd almost end up with a mocha or something, but you almost end up with a Kentucky milk stout. But overall, very good. I wouldn't pair this with any food except as a dessert. You could probably do cheesecake with blackberries or raspberries. You could do some mild pies. You could do some cheeses, in fact, with it as well. But to me, this is more of a sip and dessert beer. Not really going to have this with a meal. It's fairly heavy. It's going to really lay you down. If you were to eat this with something, I personally would go something along the pasta-oriented, light white sauces, maybe some light red sauce, but mostly white linguinis and things like that. Maybe a shrimp scampi, something along the lines of that. The garlic, though, you got to be careful with the garlic, and this would probably clash a little too much. So me personally, I would just stick with the desserts. Anyway, overall, very good beer. Thanks, Alltech. You do some really good work on your beers. You get some interesting varieties out. I've had this on draft as well at Beer Fest, and to me, it's much better on draft, and it's really good mixed half and half with their Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale. You get a nice flavor combination there, and it's a good thing to, if you're going to get some of both, and share it with a friend, and each of you to pour half a bottle of each and mix them together and enjoy. All right. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for clicking like. Thanks for all the comments. If you want to join me on Untapped, I'll have the link below. I am Brainmuffin on Untapped. I'm also Brainmuffin on Twitter. More people are starting to find me there. Tweet me what kind of what beer reviews you want to see and stuff. And I'm also still trying to work out. We've got a couple guys on YouTube. We've all got these channels that we're trying to grow, and we're all doing beer reviews. It's just the logistics of us doing one has so far been a nightmare. But we're hoping to finally get something where we're doing some kind of Skype or something over the same beer or exchange data. We haven't figured it all out yet, but we'll keep you posted. All right. Thank you, and see you next time.